Imagine being in your early 20s. Most people are still trying to figure out what they want to do with their lives. Some are applying for internships, others are drowning in student loans, wondering if that expensive degree was actually worth it. Now imagine being trusted with billions of dollars instead. Not millions, billions. That's the story surrounding a young AI researcher named Leopold Aschenbrenner, whose ideas about artificial intelligence would eventually attract billions of dollars in investor interest. For a brief moment, many people viewed him as one of Silicon Valley's most promising young AI researchers.
He runs a hedge fund that had $45 billion.
Many investors praised his AI vision. Billionaires backed him. According to multiple financial reports, the hedge fund he later launched grew at an extraordinary pace, attracting significant attention across the investment world. Then, almost as quickly as it appeared, it all came crashing down. Within days, the fund reportedly liquidated nearly all of its publicly disclosed equity positions, and billions of dollars in market value were erased as AI-related holdings declined. Wall Street's biggest firm rushed to clean up the wreckage, and suddenly everyone was asking the same question. Was Leopold Aschenbrenner a visionary who got unlucky, or was he simply another brilliant person who believed he couldn't be wrong? Because this story isn't just about losing money, it's about intelligence, ambition, artificial intelligence, and one of the most closely watched AI-focused hedge fund collapses in recent history. But to understand how everything unraveled, we have to go back to the beginning. Leopold Aschenbrenner was born in Germany and spent much of his life in Berlin. Unlike many billionaires whose childhoods become legendary overnight, very little has been publicly revealed about his early years. That's partly because Leopold has always kept his personal life remarkably private. What we do know is that both of his parents are physicians. While Leopold has shared very little about his upbringing, his academic achievements suggest education played an important role during his early years. From an early age, Leopold was widely described as an exceptionally strong student. By his teenage years, he had already developed a reputation for outstanding academic performance. He attended the John F. Kennedy School in Berlin, an international school known for producing high-achieving students from around the world. While other kids were obsessed with video games or sports, Leopold became fascinated by economics, mathematics, computers, and the kinds of problems that most adults don't even think about. Some children ask, "Why is the sky blue?" Leopold seemed more interested in questions like, what happens if artificial intelligence becomes smarter than humans? That's not exactly normal dinner table conversation, but that curiosity would eventually become the foundation of everything that followed. As he entered his teenage years, it became increasingly obvious that he wasn't operating at the same pace as most students. He moved through school remarkably quickly. By the time many teenagers were preparing for college entrance exams, Leopold had already set his sights on one of the world's most prestigious universities, Columbia University. Getting accepted into Columbia is difficult enough. Graduating at the top of your class, that's another level entirely. Leopold didn't just graduate. He graduated from Columbia University at just 19 years old after studying economics and mathematical statistics, an achievement that drew attention because of his unusually young age. At only 19 years old, think about that for a second. Most 19-year-olds are still adjusting to college life. Leopold had already finished it. He earned degrees focused on economics and mathematical statistics, two fields that would later prove incredibly valuable in both artificial intelligence and investing. People often imagine genius as something magical. In reality, it's usually thousands of boring hours spent studying subjects that most people would rather avoid. While everyone else was scrolling social media, Leopold was building expertise. That difference compounds over time, just like investing. But here's something interesting. At this point, finance wasn't even his main focus. Artificial intelligence was. Long before AI became the hottest topic on earth, before ChatGPT, before trillion-dollar AI companies, before every CEO suddenly started adding the letters AI into every earnings call, Leopold was already convinced that artificial intelligence would become the defining technology of the century. Most people saw AI as another software tool. He believed it would reshape civilization. That's an enormous difference, and it explains almost every major decision he made afterward. After graduating, Leopold became involved with research related to long-term global risks and advanced artificial intelligence. His work eventually connected him with people inside one of Silicon Valley's fastest growing communities, researchers and investors trying to understand where AI was heading before everyone else. This wasn't mainstream thinking. Back then, discussions about super intelligent AI sounded like science fiction. Today, governments around the world actively debate AI regulation, safety, and national security. Funny how quickly the impossible becomes yesterday's news. One of Leopold's early professional stops was connected to FTX's Future Fund, the philanthropic initiative backed by Sam Bankman-Fried. His life is another story. Now, hearing FTX today immediately raises eyebrows, and understandably so. FTX became one of the largest financial scandals in modern history after its spectacular collapse in late 2022. But it's important to separate timelines. Leopold's work wasn't running the cryptocurrency exchange. He worked with the organization's philanthropic efforts, which focused on funding research and projects they believed could positively impact humanity. The Future Fund attracted many respected academics and researchers before the broader FTX empire collapsed. When FTX imploded, that initiative disappeared along with it. Fortunately for Leopold, his career wouldn't end there. In fact, it was about to accelerate. Because shortly afterward, one of the most important companies in the world came calling, a company that would completely change his life, OpenAI. At the time, OpenAI was already becoming one of the most influential AI companies on the planet. But what few people realized was that behind the scenes, researchers weren't just building smarter AI. They were also racing to answer a terrifying question. What happens if AI becomes more intelligent than humans? That question would become Leopold's obsession, and it would eventually launch him toward unimaginable success, before setting the stage for one of Wall Street's most shocking collapses. From OpenAI to one of Wall Street's most watched, landing a job at OpenAI is difficult. Getting hired onto one of its most sensitive research teams, that's an entirely different league. Leopold joined OpenAI's Super Alignment team, a group tasked with one of the biggest challenges in modern technology. Not building smarter AI, making sure smarter AI doesn't become dangerous. If artificial intelligence eventually surpasses human intelligence, how do you make sure it still behaves the way humans want it to? It sounds like the plot of a sci-fi movie, but inside OpenAI, it was, and still is, a very real research problem. Leopold wasn't there because he could write flashy code or give impressive presentations. He was there because he had a reputation for thinking years ahead of everyone else, while most people were asking, how can AI make my job easier? Leopold was asking, what happens after AI can outperform humans at almost every intellectual task? Those are two completely different conversations. The difference would define his career. By 2023, artificial intelligence had become the hottest topic in the world. ChatGPT exploded. Nvidia became one of the most valuable companies on earth. Every tech giant suddenly announced an AI strategy. Companies that had barely mentioned artificial intelligence before were now acting like they'd invented it. Money flooded into anything remotely connected to AI. Investors weren't just buying software companies anymore. They were buying the entire ecosystem, the chips, the servers, the power infrastructure, the data centers, the networking equipment. Everyone knew AI would need enormous amounts of computing power. Very few understood just how enormous. Leopold believed demand would be unlike anything the world had ever seen, and in hindsight, he wasn't completely wrong. But while AI was booming publicly, something unexpected happened behind closed doors. In April 2024, OpenAI dismissed Leopold from the company. The reason remains one of the most debated parts of his story. According to OpenAI, the dismissal involved an alleged violation of company policies related to confidential information. Leopold has publicly disputed that explanation. He has maintained that the situation has been misunderstood and has challenged the way it has been portrayed. Outside observers don't have access to all of the internal facts, so it's impossible to say with certainty exactly what happened. And that's important. In stories like this, facts often get buried beneath headlines. It's easy to confuse speculation with evidence. The truth is simple. OpenAI and Leopold disagree about why he left. Everything beyond that should be treated carefully. For most people, getting fired from one of the world's most prestigious AI companies would be devastating. Career over. Time to start applying for jobs again. But Leopold did something almost nobody expected. Instead of disappearing, he doubled down. Shortly after leaving OpenAI in 2024, he published a lengthy essay titled Situational Awareness, which argued that artificial general intelligence, or AGI, could arrive much sooner than many experts expected. Calling it an essay almost feels misleading. It stretched well over 100 pages and read more like a roadmap for humanity's future. Its central argument was bold. Artificial general intelligence, often called AGI, was arriving much sooner than most people believed, not decades away, potentially within just a few years. If that happened, the companies supplying the computer power behind AI would become some of the most valuable businesses in history. Think about the California gold rush. Thousands of people dreamed about striking gold, but many of the people who became truly wealthy weren't the miners. They were the businesses selling picks, shovels, tools, tents, and supplies. Leopold believed AI would create the same dynamic. The biggest winners wouldn't necessarily be the companies building chatbots. They'd be the companies supplying the infrastructure that made those systems possible. That idea would become the foundation of everything that followed. The essay spread through Silicon Valley like wildfire. Founders shared it, engineers debated it, venture capitalists forwarded it to one another, Executives who had never heard Leopold's name suddenly wanted to know who he was. For many readers, this wasn't just another prediction. It felt like a blueprint. Whether people agreed with every conclusion or not, almost everyone admitted one thing: the paper was impossible to ignore. And suddenly, Leopold wasn't just another former AI researcher. He had become one of the most talked about voices in artificial intelligence. Then came the decision that shocked almost everyone. Most people who become internet famous write a book, start a podcast, launch a newsletter. Leopold chose a much riskier path. He decided to put his ideas to the test with real money, lots of it. He founded a hedge fund called Situational Awareness LP, borrowing its name directly from the essay that had made him famous. It wasn't simply an investment fund. It was essentially a giant wager on one prediction. If AGI arrives sooner than expected, the companies building AI infrastructure will experience explosive growth. That thesis sounded crazy to some people, brilliant to others, but there was one major problem. Leopold had almost no traditional hedge fund experience, no decades-long Wall Street career, no famous investing track record, no history of managing billions. Normally, that's enough to scare investors away. Instead, something remarkable happened. Some of Silicon Valley's most respected names decided to back him. Financial reporting identified several well-known technology investors as backers of the venture, including people associated with Stripe, former GitHub CEO Nat Friedman, and investor Daniel Gross. These weren't inexperienced gamblers chasing hype. These were people known for recognizing transformative technology early. Their involvement instantly gave Leopold credibility. It sent a message to the market. This isn't just another ambitious kid with a PowerPoint presentation. If these investors believe in him, maybe everyone else should too. That confidence opened doors. Money began pouring in, and soon Leopold wasn't simply talking about the future of AI. He was managing one of the fastest growing AI-focused hedge funds reported in recent years. But here's the twist. His biggest strength would quietly become his greatest weakness. Because while everyone focused on how much money he was making, almost nobody paid attention to how much risk he was taking to make it. And that's where the story takes a dramatic turn. By early 2026, Leopold Aschenbrenner had gone from being a relatively unknown AI researcher to one of the most talked about investors in the world. His fund wasn't just making money, it was printing it. Investors who had taken a chance on the young founder watched their returns climb at a staggering pace. According to CNBC and other financial publications, the fund reportedly grew from roughly $225 million in assets at launch to tens of billions of dollars within a relatively short period. Some reports estimated assets under management had reached approximately $45 billion before the fund came under severe pressure. On paper, it looked like the birth of Wall Street's next superstar. People love stories like this. A young genius, a revolutionary idea, an industry changing the world. It's the kind of narrative investors can't resist. But markets have a funny habit. They don't care about great stories. They care about risk. And hidden beneath the incredible returns was a structure that could collapse if even one major assumption proved wrong. To understand why the fund became so successful, you need to understand what Leopold was actually buying. Contrary to what many people assumed, he wasn't simply loading up on the biggest AI companies. He wasn't trying to outguess NVIDIA every week. Instead, he focused on something less obvious: infrastructure. Think about building a city. People usually admire the skyscrapers. Very few stop to think about the concrete, steel, electrical wiring, roads, and water pipes that make these buildings possible. AI works the same way. Everyone talks about ChatGPT. Few people think about the servers running it, the data centers cooling thousands of GPUs, the memory chips feeding information at incredible speeds, the cloud infrastructure connecting everything together. Leopold believed these businesses would quietly become the biggest winner of the AI revolution. If AI demand doubled, they would benefit. If AI demand tripled, they would benefit even more. If his prediction about artificial general intelligence proved correct, demand could become almost unimaginable. It was a simple thesis, but it was also incredibly concentrated. Public regulatory filings indicated that one of the fund's largest disclosed public positions was Nebius, an AI cloud infrastructure company formed following the restructuring of Yandex's international assets. Public filings suggested Nebius represented approximately 40% of the fund's disclosed public equity portfolio at one point. 40%. Let that sink in. Imagine buying 10 pizzas and 4 of them are exactly the same flavor. If everyone suddenly decides they hate that flavor, you're in trouble. That's essentially what concentration risk looks like. Professional investors usually spread their money across different industries, different business models, and different economic environments. Leopold didn't. His portfolio contained several companies tied to the exact same idea: memory chips, AI cloud computing, data center infrastructure, semiconductor supplier, different company names, one underlying bet. If AI infrastructure boomed, everything worked. If AI slowed down, everything suffered together. It was diversification on paper, but not in reality. Still, concentration alone doesn't destroy hedge funds. What turned this strategy into a potential disaster was something much more dangerous: leverage. If concentration is gasoline, leverage is the match. And once those two meet, things can get ugly very quickly. Leverage sounds complicated, but the basic idea is surprisingly simple. Imagine you have $100. Instead of investing only your own money, a bank allows you to borrow another $300. Now you're controlling $400 worth of investments. If those investments rise by 25%, you've made $100. You just doubled your original capital. Sounds incredible until the market moves the other way. If your $400 investment falls by 25%, you've just lost the entire $100 you started with. The bank still wants its $300 back. It doesn't care that your investment thesis might eventually be correct. It wants repayment immediately. That's why leverage is so dangerous. It doesn't just magnify profits, it magnifies mistakes. Multiple financial reports indicated that the fund was using leverage of roughly 4 times its equity, significantly increasing both its potential gains and its potential losses. That's aggressive. Not unheard of in hedge funds, but aggressive. As long as AI stocks kept climbing, leverage acted like rocket fuel. Every percentage gain became dramatically larger. Returns looked almost unbelievable. Investors were thrilled. Financial media began paying attention. Some people started wondering whether they were witnessing the next legendary fund manager. But leverage creates a dangerous illusion. During good times, it makes you appear smarter than you really are. It rewards confidence. Sometimes it rewards overconfidence. There was another hidden risk, one that most casual investors never think about: liquidity. Imagine owning a rare sports car worth $1 million. On paper, you're wealthy. But what happens if someone tells you to sell it? Today, not next month. Not after finding the right buyer. Today. You'd probably have to accept a much lower price just to get cash quickly. Stocks work the same way. When a hedge fund manages billions of dollars, exiting positions isn't as simple as clicking a sell button. Large sales push prices down. The bigger the fund, the bigger the problem. Now imagine trying to sell billions of dollars worth of AI stocks while everyone else is already nervous. That's like trying to leave a packed stadium through one tiny exit after someone yells fire. Nobody gets out gracefully. Despite these risks, the market kept rewarding Leopold's strategy. AI excitement remained intense. Every new model is released. Every breakthrough announcement, every major investment in data centers, everything seemed to support his original thesis. For a while, he looked unstoppable. His essay attracted widespread praise across the technology community. His essay looked prophetic. His investment strategy appeared highly successful during that period. His timing looked perfect, but markets have a cruel sense of humor. They often punish investors right after they've become convinced they're invincible, because the market doesn't care how intelligent you are. It doesn't care how many prestigious universities you've attended. It doesn't care how many billionaires believe in your vision. Eventually, every investment thesis faces a test, and Leopold's was about to face one of the worst possible combinations imaginable. As concerns over interest rates and technology valuations grew, many AI-related stocks began to decline together. His largest holdings would fall together. His borrowed money would become a ticking time bomb. And once the first margin call arrived, the countdown to one of the most closely watched hedge fund unwindings of the year. For nearly 2 years, everything had gone almost perfectly. Leopold's thesis looked brilliant. Artificial intelligence was still dominating headlines. Tech companies were spending hundreds of billions of dollars building AI infrastructure. Demand for advanced chips seemed endless on the surface. Nothing appeared broken, but underneath, the market was beginning to change. And for highly leveraged funds, markets don't need to collapse to create disaster. They only need to move far enough, for long enough. By the middle of 2026, investors had started worrying about something that had almost nothing to do with artificial intelligence: interest rates. Higher interest rates increase the cost of borrowing money. That affects everyone: consumers, businesses, governments, and especially investors using leverage. High-growth technology companies tend to be valued based on what they might earn years into the future. When interest rates rise, those future earnings become less valuable in today's dollars. That's why expensive growth stocks often fall much harder than mature companies when markets start pricing in tighter monetary policy. Unfortunately for Leopold, his portfolio was filled with exactly those kinds of companies. Around the same time, AI stocks began losing momentum, not because artificial intelligence had suddenly failed, not because AGI had become impossible, but because markets move in cycles. Even the strongest industries experience corrections. Some of the fund's biggest reported holdings, including companies tied to AI infrastructure, fell sharply over a short period. Several declined more than 30% in roughly a month. Some dropped much further. If you own those stocks without borrowing money, that's painful. If you're leveraged 4-to-1, it's catastrophic.